the fight will do that. There's no talking needed. The fight will show that there are different levels to this, and he's coming from a UFC level. So this right here will be the statement. Welcome to the Moon Show.
Welcome to the Moon Show.
75 foot 7 inches tall, weighing in at 135.3 pounds. His record: 4 wins, only 1 defeat. Fighting out of Warner Robins, Georgia. I give you Amun Cosme.
It's a good day to be alive, but it's an even better day to be great. And I mean, I'm sitting here with Amun Cosme, and the motto lives true to this day, huh?
Yes, it does. That's something that's like my slogan, my saying. That's what I'm known for. At first, I used to just say it when I was in a real low moment in my life to help pick myself up. Then it became kind of like cheesy catchphrase. People made fun of it, and then now everybody's on it. Like, yo, I love it. I'm like, yeah, I know.
It's in every single one of your Instagram videos and stories. I mean, I gotta ask. You said it come from a low. Where did that quote kind of come from for you? What really made that your motto?
Well, in 2015, I had my first back surgery. So I had 2 back surgeries. I had 2 car accidents, and I just remember after my first back surgery, I was on bed rest, and I was like, man, I'm an athlete. I played football and soccer and all these sports. I had just started getting into martial arts for about 3.5 years at that time. It was 2015. I started getting into martial arts end of 2011, early 2012, and I loved it. And I just remember man, at this point where I was on bed rest, where I'm I can't walk on my own. My mom and my little sister helped me get up to walk every hour and stuff like that. And I was like, man, what are you going to do if you're not an athlete? And I just remember not having that little being down on myself. I was in a down moment, but I was like, man, if physically you can't do nothing, mentally you got to get yourself right. So at that point in time where physically I was incapable, I made the decision to work on my mental fortitude, my mental strength. And I used to just tell myself, man, be grateful for something. You can't just be in the bed man, there's nothing going good for me. So I was just like, man, it's a good day to be alive. If you ain't grateful for anything, it's a good day to be alive. And then I've had this obsession of I hate mediocrity. And I was like, bro, if it's a good day to be alive, you might as well strive for greatness. And I was like, that greatness for me today is walking by myself instead of assistance. And then the greatness for me tomorrow is, taking a walk around, the house. And then the greatness the next day was taking a walk around the block. And the greatness after that was getting back into the gym and physically fit and then getting back on the mat. So that was kind of the origin of how that started. And when I first said it, it wasn't even all bright and shiny. It was just yo, it's a good day to be alive, better day to be great. Let's get up and get to the grind. And I would just tell myself that every day. And when it got better, I was like, yo, it's a good day to be alive. Let's go get it.
Yeah, this positive attitude that you've got, Amun, is it's infectious. It's I'm sure everybody around you is the same way whenever you're around the room, but right behind you is a banner, Lunar Unlimited. This is your brand. This is your motto. You've got the motto. Now you've got a brand. You've got a website. You've got the shirt, the merch, everything. Why don't you tell the people about that? Because I read a little bit earlier about me and about the Lunar Unlimited, and I really like the focus, the vision of Lunar Unlimited.
Yeah. So Lunar Unlimited. Lunar Unlimited, I got to give a shout out to my sister because she helped me come up with the name. Because they're like, man, your nickname's Moon. What do you want your business to be labeled as? I'm like, it's got to be something moon related that they can attach me to it. And then so we brainstorming, and then she was like, what about Lunar Unlimited? And I was like, nah, I don't like it. and that was my first initial thing. And she was like, but your name is Moon and you do multiple things. First of all, a mixed martial artist has to study 5, 6 different disciplines. She was like, man, you got a little bit of business background. You play all these different types of sports. You coach, you teach, you do all these different things. So let's not put a limit on it. So let's go with Lunar Unlimited. The sky's not the limit. You got to blast through it. So she's talking. I was like, dang, this is great. Hold on. I just thought, I thought on it. I sat in it and I was like, man, this is it.
That's awesome, dude. And speaking of I want to transition this into Moon the Fighter, right? Because you're talking about breaking limits, pushing limits. We've really seen this evolution of Moon from, I mean, your first fights in amateur all the way to now. We really started as like a submission specialist and then started adding in some wrestling. Then your last two fights you won by TKO. So it's like
Yeah.
I've got to play on word too. There's like this phases of the moon we're seeing here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? What's going into this training preparation for Moon as you are preparing for arguably one of the biggest fights in your career so far?
Yeah, I wouldn't say arguably. I would say it is the biggest fight in career. I say anytime you have a fight in front of you, it will always be the biggest fight of your career. I don't care if you're fighting on a local show, on a big show, as an amateur. Fighting is not guaranteed. You can go in there and it could be your last fight.
Yeah.
So you need to approach it every time. This is the biggest fight of your career. But the evolution of Moon, or like the phases of the Moon, pretty much. Uh, it Everyone like looked at my amateur career as like, yo, he's got like 4 or 5 submission victories. This guy's just a submission guy. And I was like, the crazy part about that is like, I think I got 2 takedowns my whole amateur career. Jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai are my 2 top martial arts that I train and I love the most. So it was like, hey, put the hands and feet on them with the Muay Thai. And then, when they come in, we got some slick jiu-jitsu to go with it. And the evolution of Moon was I never focused on like, oh, you're good at this, so double down on this. It was actually the opposite. It was like, hey, we know that the missing link is wrestling, so you need to get your wrestling in order. And like while I was having my wins as an amateur, I was focusing on my wrestling. And then I had my second pro fight against Mike Wilson, and I'm over there going for takedowns and shoot doubles and all kind of. Everybody's like, when did Moon start shooting? I was like, bro, I've been wrestling for 4 or 5 years now. I want to go test it out in the fire. And then the people were like, oh, this guy's a wrestler. And it's like, oh, I didn't say that, like you said.
Yeah.
So, and then as the wrestling got better, we started focusing on wall wrestling. It's like I got a 20-time UFC vet in my corner in Cole Miller. And he's like, hey, you're in a cage surrounded by walls. So then we focused on wall wrestling. And it's like every area where my game was lacking or weak, that is where we focused on. And then if you look at my record, you're like, he's gone the distance twice, so we don't worry about his conditioning. He's got 2 knockouts, and he's got 2 submission victories. So it's like when you talk about well-rounded,
exactly.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, man. And I mean, 100% I would say well-rounded too. And I mean, as an amateur and a pro, you only have 1 loss as well too, which is like speaks volume as well too. And I feel like you've never really fought any like, here's a win here, just take it, or here's whatever.
Yeah,
like,
bro. Hey, say what it is. I've never fought any cans, bro.
Yeah, never fought a can, but you got something on your mind, I can tell.
No. I'm like,
okay.
I think that's the evolution of Moon, is the fact that we're intelligent with my career, but we're not hiding. Some management companies and coaches and stuff like that, they like, hey man, like let's get you some winnable, we call them winnable fights in the game. But my team and I have the most confidence in each other. Like I believe in them, they believe in me. And my path as an amateur was never duck the hard fights. It was let's go there. I went to Tennessee, went to Florida. I'm fighting everybody else's backyard. And then when I finally came and started fighting in Georgia, it was like, all right, man, this guy's like a little name for himself, and he's fighting. If you're gonna lose to anyone, you're gonna lose against the best. So I've like never ducked or hid from people. It was like after I lost against a black belt in jiu-jitsu, what did they do? They put me against another high-level black belt from Brazil in Jackson, Santa Cruz. So it's like we're not hiding from anything. And my team has ultimate belief in me, and I believe in them. And we believe if we all come together, we can get the job done no matter who it is.
I mean, well, so far so good. I mean, you're fighting in the UFL right now through this Grand Prix tournament. I mean, you're in the final now, fighting for the belt for Christ's sake. So I mean, you've got the team, you've got the experience, you've got the willpower. I mean, I want to talk about the UFL though, because I feel like they're relatively new, right? I mean, this is like the fifth card, something like that. Tell me about the UFL a little bit, because it seems like the treatment from them versus some of the stuff you hear about UFC and these kind of things. I mean, it seems like night and day.
UFC, number one, is the biggest fight marketing brand in the U.S., right? So let's get that out there. The UFL is, like you said, fairly new. But for its 4th show, think about that. for his fourth show, it moved up to the number 3 spot. And so you got in the United States, you got the UFC, Bellator and PFL have merged, and now you have UFL. So it's
Yeah.
like, how is it? It's not a small local promotion. If you've been to any of the shows or anything like that, you're like, bro, look at this, right?
Yeah.
Like Rampage, Frank Mir,
Yeah.
Ortiz, Harrison Rogers, like these are the guys that are running the show, former UFC vets and actual champions. So they know what it's like to be on the fight side as well as now the business side of things. And just my time with the UFL has been absolutely amazing. I signed with them for this Grand Prix tournament, which I loved because I'm like, hey, we're gonna put the best 135ers in a tank. It's a Shark Tank. There can only be one. There's 8 of us, and there's only gonna be one. So they also provided health care, which was like new to me because I'm like, bro, you only get health insurance for one night that you fight whenever you
Yeah.
fight for another promotion. So they're like actually want to take care of the fighters, and it's like that's good. It makes people feel like appreciated and wanted. And then they also have sponsorship opportunities where I won F3 sponsorship because I had the first round knockout. And they also allow you to have your own sponsors so it doesn't block you, the fighter from making money. So it's just like this. I don't know. The ambiance is amazing. For me, it's very simple. The level of professionalism is the best that I've currently seen. I haven't fought for the UFC, so I can't say
Yeah.
anything about them. And I'm not going to badmouth them. They're one of the greatest companies, fight companies on the planet,
Fair enough.
right? And I'm just like, I just think that what the UFL is doing should be things that other promotions are doing. I'm not like, oh, my McDonald's is good, so like Burger King is trash. No, like you can like, both things, but I'm like, hey, what they're doing is unheard of, but it seems to be working because in 4
For sure.
shows, I did an interview with a guy from Poland, and I'm like, how did you get? And I asked him, I was like, a thick accent, super thick accent. I'm like,
Yeah.
how'd you even like find me? Like, was it just like by chance? He says, no, you fight for the UFL, right? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I didn't even know y'all knew about the UFL over there. But they do such a good job of their fighters. They brought in a girl from Slovenia or Slovakia. My
Okay.
last opponent was from Armenia. Jackson Santa Cruz is from Brazil. Like they bringing in international talent, so it's not just local. So it's like, man, their brand has already reached the other side of the pond. They're talking
Mm.
about they got a guy fighting for the title. Reese is fighting. He's from the UK, and it's like, man, we got talent in all the divisions. And if you look at the UFL fights, you're like, bro, these look like UFC fights.
Yeah. Speaking of UFC fights, your next opponent is a veteran of the UFC, especially the Ultimate Fighter as well too, Hunter Azure, and I believe you're fighting in his home
Yes.
state, Arizona, right?
Yes, it won't be the first time they've done it, and it probably won't be the last. And like for
Fair.
me, my team told me only go to Arizona to bury bodies. So like I'm not
There
going
you
to the
go.
desert for no other reason. It's
Hey,
as
and
simple as
so
that.
what's
Yeah.
some things that you see in Hunter Azure's game that you feel like that you can win over? What are some flaws? What are some things that you feel like you're going to do better in this fight? Because it's for the title.
Yeah, like first and foremost, I gotta give a shout out to Hunter. Like, this is a great fight, like for me and for him. This is not a like there's more risk or reward on either side. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, look, he didn't win that fight in the Ultimate Fighter, but he could be beating one good opponent away from being re-signed back to
Yeah.
the UFC. And it's like, well, what other way to get back in than to beat a guy who's literally beat all the other guys in this tournament for a title? Now
Yeah.
you have a title shot. And if you beat this guy, that could be your ticket back in. So this isn't like just the, oh, yeah, you're just going to kind of take it, kind of fight. It is what it is. He's hungry. He wants to go back. And for me, I'm like, this is my state. This is the biggest statement fight for me because it's like, yo, everything that you've done has put you in this bracket to be amongst the best people who have fought in the UFC, currently are in the UFC, or whatever the case may be. And it's like when you see that as a fighter, you got to get excited because it's like, hey, this is the opportunity that's going to be able to set me apart from the rest of the pack. I believe I did that with the current guys I fought. Last guy I fought was 11-3. Jackson Santa Cruz had a very positive record as well. So it's like, look, we're only taking steps up in competition. And as far as like weaknesses, like he's a vet. He's solid in all areas. That's what makes this fight more exciting. You're like Moon's well rounded. He's 6-1. Hunter's well rounded. He's 10-3. He's fought for the UFC, quite a bit. And you're like, man, he's got 4 or 5 fights for the UFC, and there aren't a lot of glaring weaknesses. Like once you get to this point in pro fighting, there's not like you just take him to the ground and it's finished, or you just keep him standing up. That's like amateur stuff, like everybody's well rounded. And the fact that there are less holes to expose, when somebody gets finished, it's like, like that's big. That's my job, is to go out there and finish the fight, not leave it in the judge's hands, and expose the little things that we see. It's the little details that make the big difference in a fight. And I think there are a couple things that I do well, better than him in a couple areas where I'm not gonna just pour it out there, but a couple areas where I feel I'll be able to take advantage of it and get that hand raised again and welcome the world to the Moon Show.
Hey, well, I do have to ask, because in your last fight, you predicted it correctly in the second round. Do you have a prediction for this fight? I had to ask it. I had to ask it.
I do have a thought process of early to mid second or third round.
Okay.
Just because of film studies vitally important to these things. But early to mid second or third. I haven't come like concrete to what it will be. But the good thing about this is a 5-round fight. It's a title fight. So it's like, hey, you could give everything you got for 3. The championship rounds will, separate. It'll separate the good from the great.
Welcome to the Moon Show. I got a couple rapid fire questions for you, Moon. So let's, right off the top of the dome, just give your first one that you're ready for. First question. Right. What's your go-to hype up, pump up song for a fight?
Oh, man. Each fight is different because each fight I'm feeling different things. As of right now, I've been listening to a lot of Mexican OT.
Okay. Who is your favorite current fighter on the UFC roster?
I'm gonna go ahead and say, I know he just got beat, but still, man, how can you not love this guy? Volk, like,
and he has one of the best walkout, like most iconic walkout songs too.
Oh yeah.
All right, yes. With the nickname Moon, what is your favorite phase of the moon? You've got to have one, right?
I really like the full moon. I really do. Like, have you ever been out where there's like no clouds or anything, but you you look outside and it looks like somebody has a nightlight on?
Yeah.
It looks like somebody has a nightlight on, and the moon is like, boom.
All right, grappling or striking, which one is your favorite? Grappling or striking?
Oh, man. As of right now, striking.
Okay.
As of right now.
And then my favorite question that I ever ask, Mount Rushmore, 4 heads, who is your top 4 greatest of all time fighters in MMA?
All right, we'll go ahead and put 2 right away. John Jones and Mighty Mouse.
All right.
Automatically at the top. Automatically at the top. But I don't want to let my emotions get in this. I'm going to go GSP as the 3rd and Anderson Silva as the 4th.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Moon, the floor is yours for any shout outs or anything like that you got.
Yeah, I definitely got to give a shout out to the UFL, the United Fight League, for always just providing a platform for the fighters to showcase their talent. And they are changing the game single-handedly. They're doing a lot of things that other promotions should be doing, that should be standard. Just their professionalism, how they take care of their fighters, and the opportunities and doors they're opening up is just absolutely lovely. I got to give a shout out to all my sponsors. Shout out to F3, my own personal brand, Lunar Unlimited, and yeah, family and friends, and my gyms, Miller Martial Arts, as well as Rush MMA. Oh, one more, Millions.co. You see the shirt.
There you go.
You can go get my merch on my Millions account. You can hop on live streams. You can get memorabilia, all that good stuff. They provide a very professional platform for athletes. Take a lot of work off of the athletes, so the athletes don't got to do a lot of extra stuff. Count inventory for T-shirts and this and that, and set up their webcams. No, let Millions take care of it for you. Focus on being a good fighter and build your brand, and they'll help you do it too. So, last shout out is to you. Appreciate you for having me on.
Man, I appreciate it. This has been one of the more fun ones that I've had. This is one that I've looked forward to. The personality that you've got, the energy, the positivity, all that. Like after a long week at work, I'm like, man, it's Friday afternoon. I get to sit down with Moon today. Let's go. And man, it was a pleasure. I appreciate it so much for being on. Can't wait for your title fight. April 27th.
Yes, sir. Right? April 27th. Right.
April 27th, ladies and gentlemen, you can watch Amun Cosme fight Hunter Azure for the UFL title. Let's go.
Yes, sir.